the 25th of December 1979, near the Soviet-Afghan border outside Termez, columns of armored vehicles begin moving south. The air is cold. The road leads toward the Amu Darya River. On the other side is Afghanistan. Within days, Kabul will have a new leader. Within years, millions of Afghans will be gone from their homes. This is how the Soviet-Afghan War unfolded. To understand the war, start with a map. Afghanistan sits below the Soviet republics of Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. To the east and south is Pakistan. To the west is Iran. Through the middle of the country runs a hard spine of mountains. Roads are few. Valleys matter. Airfields matter. A city can be held while the country around it is already slipping away. The Soviet Union had watched Afghanistan for decades. Since the 1950s, Moscow had supplied training, weapons, advisors, and money. Afghanistan was not formally part of the Soviet bloc, but it was close enough to matter, too close to ignore. In July 1973, Mohammad Daoud Khan overthrows the Afghan monarchy. He is a nationalist, not a Soviet puppet, but his coup depends partly on military officers and left-wing factions friendly to Moscow. One of those factions is the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, the PDPA. It is communist. It is pro-Soviet. It is also split against itself. There are two main wings, Khalq and Parcham. Both are Marxist. Both claim to be building a modern Afghanistan. They also mistrust each other intensely. This small internal split becomes one of the load-bearing cracks in the entire country. On April 27, 1978, soldiers aligned with the PDPA move against Daoud. Fighting reaches the presidential palace in Kabul. Daoud and members of his family are killed. The monarchy is already gone. Now the republic is gone too. Nur Muhammad Taraki becomes the new leader. Hafizullah Amin rises with him. Babrak Karmal, from the rival Parcham faction, is pushed aside. The new government wants to transform Afghanistan quickly. Land reform, literacy campaigns, forced social change, political repression. In Kabul, this can be described as revolution. In much of rural Afghanistan, it feels like an attack by a state that never understood the countryside it was trying to remake. Resistance begins almost immediately. Some of it is local, some of it is religious, some of it is tribal, some of it is political. It does not yet have one command structure, but it has geography on its side. Afghanistan is not a flat board. It is a country of passes, deserts, villages, and valleys, where a central government can disappear after the road ends. By March 1979, Herat explodes. Soldiers mutiny, rebels rise. Soviet advisors are reportedly killed. The revolt is suppressed, but the message reaches Moscow clearly. The Afghan communist government may not survive on its own. Taraki and Amin ask the Soviets for help, not once, repeatedly. Moscow sends equipment, advisors, and limited units. But Soviet leaders are reluctant to send a full army. They understand the danger. They know that an intervention could become expensive, political, and difficult to leave. Then the Afghan leadership begins eating itself. Amin turns on Taraki. In September 1979, Taraki is removed. In October, he is killed. Amin takes control of the party, the government, and the armed forces. To Moscow, this is a problem. Amin is brutal, unstable, and difficult to trust. Soviet documents later describe fears that he was consolidating a personal dictatorship and might seek a more balanced foreign policy, possibly including contact with the United States. For the Kremlin, Afghanistan is no longer just an ally in trouble. It is a border state in crisis, ruled by a man they no longer trust, with Islamist insurgents growing across the country. On December 12, 1979, the Soviet Politburo decides to intervene. The official explanation is assistance under the Soviet-Afghan Friendship Treaty. The practical plan is more direct. Move troops in, remove Amin, install Babrak Karmal, stabilize the revolution. It is meant to be fast. On December 25th, Soviet troops begin entering Afghanistan by land and air. Airborne units land near Kabul and Bagram. Columns move toward key routes in the north, including the roads through Kunduz, Buli Kumri, and the Salang Pass. The Salang is not just a mountain route. It is the artery between the Soviet border and Kabul. Control the road, and the invasion has a spine. Amin still appears to believe the troops are coming to help him. 2 days later, Soviet special forces attack the Tajbeg Palace outside Kabul. Communications are cut. Government buildings are seized. Amin is killed. By the morning after, Babrak Karmal is being presented as the new Afghan leader. On a map, it looks clean. Kabul, Bagram, main roads, air bases, northern border, capital secured, government replaced. But maps can lie. The Soviets control Kabul and the major cities. They control garrisons, airfields, and parts of the highway network. The Afghan government still exists. Its flag still flies. Its officials still speak. But outside the cities, the war begins to spread. The resistance is now called the Mujahideen. It is not one army. It is many groups, with different leaders, regions, ideologies, and foreign sponsors. Some operate from inside Afghanistan. Many use Pakistan as a rear base. Others receive support through Iran. Weapons, money, volunteers, intelligence, and influence begin moving across borders. This is where the local war becomes a Cold War battlefield. The United States sees the invasion as a major Soviet move beyond the Eastern Bloc. Washington responds with sanctions, a grain embargo, a boycott of the 1980 Moscow Olympics, and covert support to the Afghan resistance. The aid moves largely through Pakistan. The program becomes known as Operation Cyclone. Saudi money, Pakistani intelligence, American weapons, and Afghan fighters now intersect in one of the most complicated supply chains of the Cold War. For the Soviet army, the problem is simple to describe and almost impossible to solve. They can take ground, they cannot keep meaning. A convoy can pass through a valley in the morning and be ambushed in the afternoon. A village can be searched and return to the resistance after the troops leave. A road can be cleared today and mined tomorrow. Helicopters become central. The Mi-24 gunship is fast, armored, and feared. It gives Soviet forces mobility and firepower in terrain where tanks and trucks are trapped by roads. But air power also has limits. It can punish a valley. It cannot make the valley loyal. The war hardens. Soviet and Afghan government forces conduct large operations into contested areas. Villages suspected of supporting the resistance are bombed or cleared. Irrigation systems, crops, animals, and homes are destroyed in many places. The strategy is sometimes described as draining the sea around the guerrillas. But in Afghanistan, the sea is made of families. People flee. By the end of 1979, hundreds of thousands of Afghans have already crossed into Pakistan and Iran. By the late 1980s, more than 6 million Afghan refugees are in surrounding countries. For years, Afghans make up nearly half of the world's refugee population. The war is not only fought in valleys, it is carried in tents, food lines, border towns, and children who learn the names of places they cannot return to. Some areas become symbols. The Panjshir Valley, north of Kabul, becomes one of the most famous. Ahmad Shah Massoud, a Tajik commander, builds a resistance network there. Soviet forces launch repeated offensives into the valley during the early 1980s. They bring armor, aircraft, and thousands of troops. Massoud's fighters withdraw, ambush, disperse, and return. The pattern repeats until the valley itself becomes a lesson. Winning a battle in Afghanistan is not the same as controlling the war. In Moscow, the cost begins to show. Official Soviet losses eventually reach around 15,000 dead. Many more are wounded, sick, or psychologically broken by the war. The numbers are smaller than the Afghan losses, but they are politically heavy. Coffins come home. Veterans come home. Stories come home. In 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev becomes leader of the Soviet Union. He inherits a war that has no clean victory and no easy exit. He calls it a bleeding wound. The Soviet Union can still fight. It can still bomb, supply, rotate, and occupy. But the original promise of a quick stabilization has already failed. Then the sky changes. In 1986, the United States supplies Stinger anti-aircraft missiles to the Mujahideen. These weapons allow guerrilla fighters to challenge Soviet aircraft more effectively, especially helicopters. The Stinger does not single-handedly end the war. Wars rarely end because of one weapon. But it changes risk. It raises the cost of flying low. It makes the Soviet advantage in the air less certain. By now, the war has become a machine that feeds on outside help. The Soviet Union backs the Afghan government. The United States, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and others back parts of the resistance. Iran supports factions of its own. Afghanistan is the battlefield, but not all the hands on the map are Afghan. In April 1988, the Geneva Accords are signed. They are meant to create the framework for Soviet withdrawal. The first Soviet troops begin leaving in May. The process is organized, staged, and heavily watched. This is not a collapse on the road. It is a controlled exit from an uncontrolled war. On February 15, 1989, the last Soviet commander, General Boris Gromov, crosses north out of Afghanistan. The Soviet war is over. The cameras capture the bridge, the uniforms, the final steps. Moscow can say its soldiers have come home. But Afghanistan does not stop. The government left behind in Kabul survives for a time. The Mujahideen continue fighting. Foreign weapons remain. Commanders remain. Rivalries remain. In 1992, the Soviet-backed government falls. Then the factions that fought the Soviets begin fighting each other. Kabul, the city the Soviets tried to secure in 1979, becomes a battlefield again. The Soviet-Afghan War is sometimes described as the Soviet Union's Vietnam. It did weaken Moscow. It did drain money, legitimacy, and confidence. It did help expose the limits of a superpower. But for Afghans, that comparison is too small. The war did not end when the empire began to crack. It rolled forward into civil war, Taliban rule, Al-Qaeda sanctuary, another invasion, another occupation, another withdrawal. So return to the map from the first night. The road south from Termez, the river, the mountains, the capital waiting beyond them. Soviet planners looked at that map and saw routes, airfields, and a government they believed could be replaced. They were right about the palace. They were wrong about Afghanistan.